want me to introduce you?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you. Of course. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Empty Nesters Luncheon. It is such a beautiful privilege to have everyone here. A very special thank you to Leah, to Mrs. Engelsberg, to Vivian, to everyone who works so hard to be able to bring this together. It's so beautiful and so special. The spread looks great, and I understand that there's a very entertaining program. You know, Amirat Hashem for the rest of the luncheon as well.
You're not the program?
I am not the program. No, I apparently am. I'm the what's the word? The opening act. I'm the opening act for the program today, which is okay. I take whatever bookings I could get these days. You know, so this is fine. Opening act for the Empty Nesters Luncheon is absolutely incredible. So just to share with you, I know that this officially is the luncheon for the month of Adar, but I'll just take the opportunity maybe to share with you a little idea as we kind of get into Pesach mode. It's really hard to believe that Amirat Hashem this coming Sunday we will welcome in Rosh Chodesh Nisan, and Amirat Hashem with that kind of embark upon the journey to bring us to Pesach. And I think although Pesach, of course, has a lot of preparation, certainly a lot of details, a lot of things that we have to do, a lot of work, but there's also so much spiritual beauty. And there's so many things that we can accomplish as individuals and as a collective. And I just wanted to share with you a thought. And it's a thought that I really think about, and it probably end up speaking about each and every year. And it's about an opening section in the Haggadah. You know, we start the Haggadah, we know, with the section of Lachma Anya. Literally translated, how would you translate Lachma Anya?
This is the bread of the poor.
Good. This is the bread of the poor. Well said. You know, often the interestingly enough, or this is the bread of affliction. Right? A reference to the matzah. Because matzah, like many other things in the Seder, has a lot of different symbolisms. On one hand, matzah could be the bread of freedom. We left Egypt with such haste that there wasn't even enough time for the bread, for the dough to rise. On the other hand, the Ramban says that for 210 years we were fed matzah. You know, you think you have a problem with matzah for 8 days, right? But again, we ate matzah for 210 years. The Ramban says, do you know why the Egyptians fed us matzah? Anyone want to venture a guess? Why did the Egyptians feed us matzah? Number one, it's cheap. And number two, it stays in your system for a very long time. So the truth is, matzah is no longer cheap. It's no longer cheap. We can absolutely relate to the idea that it just sits in the kishkas for a prolonged amount of time. So when you have to feed a slave force of millions of people, matzah was the inexpensive alternative. So we say this is the bread of affliction. But I want to draw your attention to really what happens at the end of that paragraph. Because at the end of that paragraph we say something amazing. We say, Hashata avdi l'shana haba b'nei chorin. This year we're slaves. No, I should go back. Hashata hacha. This year we're here. Where's here? Where's here?
Here.
Here's here. Wherever we are. We are. And for us, diaspora, this year we're here. L'shana haba b'Eretz Yisrael. Next year we'll be in Eretz Yisrael. Hashata avdi. This year we are slaves. L'shana haba b'nei chor. Next year we will be free. And if I were asking you, if you were to write that phrase, you were to write that end, how would you write it? How would you write it? This year we're here, right? This year we're here. Well, how would you end the phrase?
Next year will be free.
By that, good.
We'll be free in Yerushalayim.
Next Yerushalayim, good.
Yeah.
So I would say a little bit differently. I would say this year we're free. Or this year we're here. Tomorrow we'll be in Yerushalayim. Why next year? Why next year? You know, so much of what Pesach represents is the ability to experience salvation quickly. Right? We say this phrase, Yeshuas Hashem keheref ayin. The redemption of Hashem is like the blink of an eye. Everything happens so quickly. Everything's happened so immediately. So what do you mean this year we're here, next year Yerushalayim? This year we're slaves, next year we're free. What does that mean? It should be, now I'm here, tomorrow I could be in Yerushalayim. Let me ask you, if Hashem wanted it, tomorrow could we be in Yerushalayim? Absolutely. Today we could be in Yerushalayim. This year we may be enslaved to certain things. Tomorrow can we be free? Absolutely. So why do we phrase it as, this year we're here, next year Yerushalayim? This year I'm a slave, next year I'm free. Let it be a little bit more immediate. Let it be a little bit more instantaneous. So what's the idea? Any thoughts? So why the this year, next year model, as opposed to this year and tomorrow model? Any thoughts? So thank God. It is actually hard to get a flight to Israel these days, right? Thank God. Hopefully that's going to change. Not the airlines start going, but yes, right? Hashem takes into account all possibilities. Good?
So we're dealing with the Yom Tov of Pesach, so we're talking about this year we're here. I know we can get there tomorrow, but we want to have next year the celebration of Pesach.
Oh, beautiful. That's the excellent answer. In other words, right, it's talking about Pesach. So this year, Pesach is here. Next year, Pesach should be. In other words, it doesn't preclude the fact that maybe redemption could take place tomorrow. But beautiful. Any other thoughts? It says, and what do you mean?
That we have something to look forward to, pray for.
Beautiful. Something to look forward to, something to pray for. Absolutely beautiful. Any other thoughts? Excellent. All great ideas. Is that a... What is that noise? Does the volume go down? Okay, perfect. Okay, great. So again, all incredible ideas. I want to share with you something amazing. It's probably one of my favorite ideas from all of the Haggadah. You know, every year, sometimes much to my wife's chagrin, I like to get new Haggadahs. And it's incredible to see that every single year there are new Haggadahs that come out. But you know, everybody, I think, generally we all find like our favorite Haggadah. You know, that's the Haggadah that has all... I don't know if those are... Okay, they're definitely dependable. Go to the last drop. But I don't know if it's... I don't know if it's the best Haggadah. But you know, it's that Haggadah that has your matzah stains on it, your wine stains on it, right? It's the one you use. You might get a whole bunch of new ones, but it's the one you use year in and year out. So to me, that Haggadah for me is a Haggadah with a beautiful commentary written by Rav Yisrael Meir Lau. Rabbi Lau was the chief rabbi of Israel, the youngest, the child survivor of Buchenwald, and a tremendous... Please come in. You have to stand by the door. No one has to stand by the door. Come in, please. Right? So one of the most incredible Haggadahs with just beautiful insight, beautiful commentary. And Rabbi Lau asks this question. He asks this question, and he gives what I think is just an incredible, beautiful, and overwhelming answer. He says, is instantaneous change possible? Is it possible? The answer is yes. Is it probable? The answer is no. Rabbi Lau, and this to me is such an incredible idea. Everything could change in a moment. And sometimes in life, things do change in a moment. But generally, that's not how change works. The way change works is it's usually slow and it's usually gradual. And the greater the change, the more time it takes. And Rabbi Lau says, remember, what is the Pesach Seder all about? You know, we think about, is the Pesach Seder about the consumption of wine, about the consumption of matzah? Yeah, that's definitely part of it. Definitely part of it. But at the end of the day, really what Pesach represents for us is it's a model for personal change. The whole idea, you know, how do you know if you've had a successful Pesach Seder? This is important. How do you know? So for some people, it's indigestion, right? If I have indigestion, I know I got the wine, I got the matzah, I'm good to go. Right? For other people, sign of a successful Seder is I'm still awake by the time that it is over. Incredible. And those are all true. But on a much deeper level, the sign of a successful Seder is have you become a different kind of person? So what's the secret to change? So is it possible to engage in instantaneous change? Is that possible? Sure. But what usually happens with instantaneous change? What usually happens? Usually we relapse to what was. You know, we all experience this, I think, a lot over the course of Elul and Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur. We become all inspired. We want to make a whole host of changes, and we do, and it's beautiful and it's fantastic. And usually a couple of weeks later, we're kind of right back to where we were. We know that in life, if you want to make real change, it's so much better to make gradual change. Small steps, incremental steps. And whereas the process may be much slower, it's often much more sustained. And Rabbi Lau says, this is the meaning of this phrase. Hashata hacha, l'shana haba ba'aradi Yisrael. This year I'm here. This year I'm here. And by the way, here doesn't just have to be a geographic statement. Here sometimes could also be like an emotional statement. This year I'm here. And where do I want to get to? I want to get to my promised land. And this year I'm a slave. Because, friends, we know we're all a slave to something. Everybody is enslaved to something. And I know that one day I could become free. So right now I'm here, maybe not the best circumstances. I want to get to my promised land. Right now I'm a slave and I know I want to become free. So what's the process to get from here to my promised land? What's the process to get from being a slave to being free? And the answer is, you can get there. Take it slow. Take it slow. Gradual change is the best kind of change. So this year, I'm here. By next year, I'll get to my promised land. This year, I'm a slave. By next year, I'll be free. Now, it might sound like you're giving yourself a pass. Really, next year, you're giving yourself a whole year to affect change in your life? Yeah. Sometimes it takes a year. Sometimes it takes years. Sometimes it takes decades. Sometimes it takes a lifetime. But the beauty of our people is that we are a long-range nation. We're never about the short game. We're never just about, okay, what can today, in today's day and age, everything is about like life hacks, right? How can you get what you want and how can you get it quickly? Right? That's all what it's about. And the truth is, it works for certain things. It can absolutely work for certain things. But for the meaningful things in life, they take time. And there are absolutely no shortcuts. So the way we start out the Pesach Seder is with this message. You want to have a meaningful Seder and a meaningful Pesach? One in which you could change yourself as a person. One in which you could get yourself from where you are now to the promised land that you want to get to. One in which you could transform yourself from being a slave to things to being free. You can get there, but it's going to take time. And it's okay that it takes time. And it's okay that change is gradual. And it's okay that I can't move myself from point A to point B instantaneously. Or that I can't go ahead and move myself from where I am now to my promised land instantaneously. The greater the change, the more time it's going to take. And the fact that it takes time doesn't mean that I failed. The fact that it takes time doesn't mean that I'm not committed. The fact that it takes time just means that's the way life works. To give ourselves time to accomplish the things we need to do, to fix the things that need to be fixed, to change the things that need to be changed. Now, obviously, here's the important part. Even though it takes time, what do you need to give yourself? What do you need to give yourself? Change might take time, but what do you need? What do you need? Patience, hope, what else? All right, goal, what else? It's very important. A deadline. A deadline. We all know. What happens when you do not attach deadlines to your life endeavors? Right? Just take a look at your garage, right? How does the garage look? Why is the garage the perpetual like repository, right, for everything that doesn't get done? Because there's no deadline on it. There's no deadline, right? It's an incredible thing. All of us know that come, Friday, April 10th? Is that Erev Pesach or Erev Shabbos, Erev Pesach, right? Everything needs to get done, and it's incredible. No matter how busy you are, everything will get done by that Friday morning, because it has to. The way things get done in life is when you give yourself a deadline. So as much as at the end of the day, yes, dramatic change takes time, but there's a deadline. What's the deadline? Next year. Okay, that's a pretty good runway. That's a 1 year runway. That's a nice size runway. But there still has to be a deadline. Because again, you have to give myself the time to affect the change I need to affect. But I also have to tell myself, by next year, or whatever date you fill in, by a certain time, I must have made the changes that need to be made. Because just open-ended desire to change, open-ended desire to transform myself into something different, or to transform my life, if it's open-ended, it doesn't get done. So there's this very fine balance. It can't get done tomorrow because I need time. So I need to put a deadline next year. But once I put the deadline, that then becomes my obligation to go ahead and get the job done. And this becomes the entire essence of the Pesach Seder. A meaningful Seder, a meaningful Pesach, is not simply one where I consume the requisite amount of matzah and drink the 4 cups of wine. That all of us have to do. That's the mitzvos of the day. But a meaningful Pesach, a successful Pesach, a successful Seder, is where we make a plan for how we want to become the people we want to become. How we make a plan for how to get ourselves from where we are to where we want to be. Give yourself a long enough runway, but give yourself the deadline as well. This, says Rabbi Lau, is how we open up the Pesach Seder. This is how we set ourselves up for personal and spiritual success. And this is what Pesach is all about. So I'll take the opportunity. I know that we're still in Adar. I don't want to get anyone nervous, right? We're still in Adar. We have a couple of days of Adar. This is an Adar. This is an Adar lunch, and I understand. But like most things in life, if you want to be successful, you got to prepare. So hopefully a little bit of preparation, putting ourselves in the right, healthy, excited, optimistic, hopeful mindset for the Yom Tov ahead. We should be privileged, Emir Hashem, to move ourselves from where we are to where we want to get to. We should be privileged to free ourselves from whatever is holding us back. We should give ourselves the necessary runway, but also make sure to give ourselves the deadlines so that we accomplish all we need to accomplish. Thank you all for being here today. It is such a privilege. Baruch Hashem, just so you should know, I said this at our first luncheon. We only built this new building to be able to house programs like this. This is what it's about. It really is. It's about an opportunity to create a beautiful space, and hopefully, I'm hopeful that by our next luncheon, we'll have it outdoors. In the courtyard. Hopefully the weather will be a little bit more, it's still beautiful today, but still a little bit chilly to sit out there. But the courtyard, as we'll see, if you got into that courtyard, it feels a little bit like you're in Eretz Yisrael. That western wall, we actually have our own western wall that is made out of Jerusalem stone. So hopefully, again, next time Emir Hashem will be in the courtyard, and this is why we built it, to allow, again, our community to come together, to spend time together, to grow together. We should privilege Emir Hashem to do so for many years to come. Thank you all for being here.
Rabbi, what's the status of the parking lot?
Parking lot will be done hopefully about 2 months. God willing.
Is this Rabbi Lau?
No, this is just the Haggadah that I had in my office that I had to use.